Hey guys, I'm Joel from Cozy Living Machine on behalf of Escape, and today we're talking about safety tips. I've got 5 for you. Let's get started. Now first up, the topic is fire. Knowing and having a fire extinguisher is always a great thing, and we keep ours right down here by the door. That way we can access it inside or out. Read the instructions, know how to use this, and make sure that if you do use it partially, recharge this immediately so it's ready for the next use. Knock on wood. Next up, we have smoke detectors. Go ahead and make sure that these are working. This is a 9-volt battery. This is a great thing. They can be very, very annoying, but they may very well save your life. Ours is a little too sensitive, which I'd rather have them too sensitive than not sensitive enough. Another sensor we have here is going to be the carbon monoxide detector. So this is also a propane leak detector, and we can go ahead and test. And it is extremely loud. Of course, we want to make sure that is working because we don't want to have a propane leak and not know about it. Now, if you smell propane, evacuate the unit immediately. Well, sometimes it's not that bad. Sometimes this will go off because the propane from the water heater has actually, there was a breeze at just the right angle and went ahead and hit that. We've had that happen. We just had to reseal one surface. Other times it might be pretty serious. You want to make sure you get out and, if possible, turn that propane off. Now also with propane, it's not something to mess with. So you want to make sure, of course, that your burners are off. And if you are not comfortable driving with propane on, feel free to turn that off. You can also, we have a 2-way fridge here, so we can go ahead and run it off of 110 if we need to. While we're going down the road, it'll run off of our inverter. Now, should there be a fire, this is a great thing to have, but in the instance in which we need to evacuate and we can't reach the door, we want to know about all of our windows, make sure that everybody in the trailer knows how to operate these windows. The great thing about the E23 is that these windows are all big enough for us to fit out, knock on wood, should we need to. But when you're parking, just kind of be mindful. Are you able to get out, or is there going to be a river right next door to you that we want to go out the other way if possible? But everybody should know how to operate those, and if you have smaller windows, which units can you access in the case of an emergency? There's also other tools. So there are fire suppression blankets. Those are a great thing to have. There are also little fire extinguisher bombs that you can put over sensitive areas if you so choose. You can go ahead and hang those, and when they get to a certain temperature, they'll go ahead and melt and release a lot of extinguishing materials. Now, for some reason, you do have thermal runaway in your batteries. It's extraordinarily rare, but not impossible. Go ahead and get out of that unit, get as far as you can, and call 911 immediately. First aid and medical. So, of course, you want to have a little first aid kit, and you can get these for less than 20 bucks a lot of times at Walgreens, Walmart, etc. You also, if you need it, Tylenol, but other medications. You're in a moving home, essentially, whether you're camping or you're full timing. So, if you're going to be away from home, you want to make sure you have everything, including EpiPens, and maybe some backups for those, just in case. In case you do need medical assistance, you want to know, where are you? Your address can be kind of hard to find in an emergency, so it might be a good idea to put on a bulletin board nearby. You can go ahead and write that out. And not only for you, your spouse, your kids, but what about for pets? Are there vet clinics? Are there their medications? And we'll talk about pets again, but it's always a good thing to have these things on hand, especially if you're going to be staying somewhere for a week or more. Just having these things just in case of an emergency, having those numbers, addresses, etc., and restock of medications is a really good thing to have. And a final point for hiking, even for a 1-hour day hike, it's a great idea to have all of the 10 essentials with you anytime you head out there. You never know what you're going to encounter. For number 3, we're going to talk about electrical connections. So these are one of the most important things that you can check. We have so many connections in here, and a lot of times you're not going to find anything at all. But a loose connection will create resistance and heat and potentially a spark. And those sparks can be a very bad thing. Now we have all sorts of connections in here, and very important connections indeed, from our solar to our batteries, as well as connections, anything that is visible. You can go ahead and wiggle everything, just make sure everything's good and tight, and if not, go ahead and address that appropriately. And if you're not comfortable with this, worry not. Any RV tech should be more than comfortable to look over your system and address what needs to be. And a very important note here, so we have our breakers and our fuses here. We want to make sure that if a fuse blows, we can go ahead and replace it. If it blows again, we have a bigger issue on our hands, and we do not want to replace, say, a 15 amp fuse with something 20, 30, or above. That is a very bad idea. Electrical conductors, including wires, are all rated for a certain gauge, which will carry a certain amount of amperage. If we are blowing a fuse, there's something going on, we have a short somewhere, so we want to address that. By putting a bigger fuse in, you're going to overheat that wire and potentially even cause a fire. It's a very bad idea. And number 4, talk about the pre-trip inspection and mechanical safety. Now, I already have a video on hooking up, but just to touch on a few points. Not only do we want to make sure that our 7-way pin is very secured, of course that's what controls our brakes on the trailer, an important component there, but we also want to make sure that our safety chains are crossed. In the event of there is a disconnect, we want to go ahead and have it so that them being crossed, it will go ahead and cradle this guy and try to keep it off the ground. And we also want to make sure that our emergency brake cable is intact, all that good stuff. Our weight distribution hitch is appropriately adjusted. Easy enough to do once you know how. Go ahead and make sure that your awning is all the way in, and your tires. You want to check these and make sure that they're not only properly torqued at a certain intervals, and your manual should also tell you what these should be set at, but that you also have good tread, nothing looks like it's wearing uneven. Go ahead and have a shop check that out if you need to. All of our lights are working, our backup camera is working. That's a nice feature if you have that. Be sure that your bumper end cap doors are properly secured. You do not want your stinky slinky going out on the road for you. If we have solar panels hooked up, of course we want to disconnect these, and our 30 amp shore power cord. We want to make sure that our water heater is in the correct position. Some folks do heat water, we do not while we're going down the road. We want to make sure our fridge is in propane or electric mode, whatever you so choose, and our furnace is off, hold for special instances which we want to keep the cabin warm while we're going down the road to prevent freezing. Make sure that your water door is locked and secured, and then you don't have your exterior lights on going down the road. And again, check these tires, don't forget about that. We also want to check for debris on both sides on the roof. There should be nothing up there. We have our front tongue box here, and of course we want to make sure that both of these guys are latched and locked if so appropriate. We want to make sure that everything that needs to be is in there, whether it's your power cable, your hoses, your chairs, or your jack wrench, and that the jacks are up, and that our sewer port, of course, is secured properly and everything's closed up before we go. Check every one of these ledges, because occasionally we'll go ahead and we'll put something up there or on the bumper, etc. The other thing you want to check is that your front jack is all the way up. Of course, you probably have already checked that while you're doing your hookups, but a good thing to know either way. Now, for us, our tailgate is all secured, our lights are all working. We want to double check that. And if you don't have a spotter, you can go ahead and say a storefront on a strip mall, something like that. You can use the reflections to check left, right signals, reverse lights, etc. It's just good to know. We also want to check these tires, and front and rear, we didn't drop anything. There's no cats underneath, etc. We always travel with at least a half tank when we can help it, because you never know if you're going to get stranded and you need the power. We will talk about our mirrors when we get inside, but that's an important thing. Make sure those are in good shape and nothing wiggles. We're going to check the front. And in terms of maintenance, especially on a 4-wheel drive vehicle, there's even more maintenance. On a diesel pickup truck, you have even more maintenance. We have oil changes, oil filters, fuel filters if applicable, and then we also want to make sure our transmission and our differentials are good. And you will likely even have at least 2 air filters, at least one for the cabin and then one for the air intake. So we want to make sure this is the air that your engine breathes. We want to make sure that those are good and clean. And we have a minimum of 6 lights on this guy that need to be functioning. We want to make sure these are good, as well as our clearance lamps on this unit. But otherwise, in our vehicle, we want to make sure that nothing is loose, or at least it's strapped down, along with everything in our trailer. Now for us, we travel with 2 big dogs, so we want to make sure that those guys are comfortable. They have a little bed in there. They're pretty good and set. They also have a little net, so they're not able to jump up front. We don't want them interfering with our driving or getting in our field of vision and preventing us from being able to see pretty clearly. So other than that, I think we're ready to go. Let's hit the road and talk about some driving tips. Now let's talk towing safety. So we tow with a Ram 2500 that has a 6.7 liter Cummins in it. It's a big old diesel engine. This truck is most likely overkill for our trailer, which is only 6,000 pounds gross. The truck itself weighs 8,400 pounds. We like to carry things with us, and of course, the diesels have a little bit more power, which is a nice thing. You don't have to have anything this large, but you do want to make sure that your vehicle is equipped not just with the ability to tow X amount of weight, right, depending on which trailer you have, but also has the payload capacity. So you don't want to overload your suspension. And no matter the trailer, I usually suggest getting a weight distribution hitch and an anti-sway feature. Say a semi-truck blows by us, or we have strong winds hit us broadside, we don't even notice it with the anti-sway feature. Now, while our truck is not overloaded by any means, we do put a good amount of stuff in here. So between us, and then of course we have the stuff in the back, our dogs, all that good stuff, and then we have our solar panels. On this truck, we are within the payload capacity, but we found that without the weight distribution hitch, we do have a good bit of sag, and you can see actually the back goes down and the front comes up. That means our headlights are higher than they need to be, which is dangerous for others on the road. We also have a good bit of bounce in our vehicle. We don't like that while we're towing, because that means less control. So the weight distribution hitch definitely helps. Another thing that matters, of course, is how you load your trailer. Ideally, all of the heavy things are down low, and on the axle or even slightly in front of the axle. You don't want to put a lot of weight at the rear of the trailer, and especially not the rear and up high. What it'll end up seeing is that you're going to have the tail wagging the dog sort of effect. That is a very bad thing. It's also a good idea, of course, to get both the vehicle and the trailer weighed to make sure you're within everybody's capacities. Nobody wants to be in an accident and be found at fault because you've overloaded your vehicle. For me, driving a trailer is really not much different than driving a regular automobile without a trailer. For mirrors, for example, you might want to actually adjust those out a little bit. You want to be able to see just barely the edge of the trailer, and if you have concave mirrors like we do, I have those tilted down and we can still just see I can see the trunk box and of course the tires. And if you're towing a trailer, you should always have an electronic brake controller, and you want to make sure that that is well adjusted. And generally my guideline has been, go ahead and you can adjust the gain up or down. So we keep ours on 1.5. That's just a number that our truck seems to like, given the weight of our vehicle, the weight of the trailer, all that good stuff. That is where the trailer feels like it's slowing itself, but it's never pulling the truck, if that makes sense. So the truck shouldn't be doing all the work and the trailer shouldn't be doing all the work. There should be a good medium there. Now, ideally we know our length, width, and height. So I know that we're less than 9 feet wide. We're no more than 11 feet tall, and I just remember these generally. Now, in fact, we actually have an Escape 23, but it's over 24 feet in length. It's about 24 feet, 7 inches in length. Now, that doesn't include our bicycle rack, so that's another thing to keep in mind. And with that, we also have a factor known as tail swing. So as we take a right turn, our tail is going to kick out just a little bit. You'll notice that even though your vehicle and even the trailer wheels are well within the lines, depending on how you position yourself, the back may swing out just a slight bit. So that's just something to keep in mind, and we always turn a little wider than we need to, even though our trailer tows very, very well, and it's very compliant in regards to what the back axle does here, because we have the extra weight. We haven't quite doubled our truck, of course, but we have a good amount more weight. We have an extra 6,000 pounds when we add our water, our stuff, our solar panels. So what this comes down to is that we just want to be a lot more patient and enjoy your time. So we don't like to go much above 65 miles an hour if we can help it. And generally, when we drive about 55, we save a good amount of fuel. That makes a big difference for us, especially in a diesel pickup truck. We are not going to be passing anybody like that gentleman. And we can just enjoy the ride, and we want to leave a good amount of distance. So a lot of folks will say at 60 miles per hour, you want to leave at least 4 seconds of distance. Leave more than that. Leave more braking distance than you think you'll need, and you'll never regret it. Leave less, and you almost certainly will. In terms of turning and things like that, we do swing out a little bit more, but it's definitely not like a semi-truck or even a bus. We don't have to take that wide of a turn. And when in doubt, go ahead and slow down and brake well in advance, especially for red lights and things like that. We don't want to be slamming hard on the brakes. But even if you've never towed before, it's really not a difficult task, and you can go ahead and practice in a parking lot or an open field somewhere if you can find one. It's a pretty easy task. There's just some maneuvers that take a little bit of getting used to. We also never use an RV GPS. We have no need. We go ahead and we want to make sure that we're paying attention to any signs, and anything that says clearance 11 feet or more, we're good with. But some people do prefer to use an RV GPS. Again, we just never found the need for one. Now, sometimes safety and comfort actually go hand in hand. If you are not comfortable towing in a situation, say there's very high winds or slick conditions, maybe you're in a blizzard, go ahead and pull off. It is better to get there safely than, again, not at all. And if you are not comfortable driving at night, just don't drive at night. Go ahead and just get up early. The great thing is that worst case, you always have your house with you. And while some people can drive all day long, others are not comfortable doing so, and either way is absolutely fine. If you are tired, go ahead and pull off. Now, some folks might also find it interesting and even helpful to read through the instruction manual for the commercial driver's license for your state, or really any state. There's always helpful tips like checking your mirrors, making sure that your tires are in certain condition. There's all sorts of good information in those, and often you can get that information free either online or at your Department of Licensing. Once again, this is Joel from Cozy Living Machine, and hopefully these safety tips are helpful for you. Please leave your recommendations down below, because I know there's a lot more that we could cover here, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.